is such a pleasure to see you today. For the folks who are watching this video, I'd like to introduce you to MJ Rosenthal. And I met MJ when she helped one of my clients get their house ready to sell and help them clear it out. MJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first, Annette, thank you for having me today. I'm really looking forward to this segment and talking about organization and getting ready to put your house on the market or downsize. This is an exciting topic and one that a lot of people are asking about. A little bit about me. I'm a certified professional organizer and a trained and certified organizer coach. And I have been working in this business for, about 15 years. And I help people create balance and systems around their space and their belongings and their time. They're all intermingled, intertwined. And my services range from helping people figure out what to figure out, including project management, organizing for a move, dealing with your paper and mail or creating systems around that, as well as space planning and organizational design, finding the right product and creating that beautiful aesthetic that you're looking for.
Now, what made you choose this field?
I think I came by it pretty naturally. When I was a young girl, I remember taking tape and little pieces of paper and captioning my photo albums. I just thought it was what you did. It was just natural inside me. And, when I got to college and afterwards, my friends would ask me to help them pack or figure out what to move or what to do with things. And sometime after that, as I entered into the corporate world, I realized I was really good with details. I was really good at understanding what the picture was and figuring out how to pick through all those pieces and get to what the solution was.
Interesting. Now, I know that you're a member of the National Association of Professional Organizers. Why did you join this group? What's the benefit? Because honestly, a lot of people say they can help others get their act together, get their life in order, but this seems like it's a step above or two steps above. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of us get into the organizing field because we feel like we've got a natural skill set around it. Being good at organizing is a great place to start, but that's really just the beginning. One of the things that organizers are trained in is being non-judgmental and client-centric around our focus. Whereas when you might have a friend or a family member come in and help you, they might be well-meaning, but often their decisions and their directions aren't based on what you, the client, actually needs or are really looking for. It's what that other person thinks is right. It's similar to an interior designer. When somebody goes in to design your home, they can either create the space and the look that's right for them, or they could really figure out what about the client is looking for this specific look, feel, and touch, and creating that around them. National Association of Professional Organizers is the first place that most organizers need to start to begin their education and their certification. I've been certified by the National Association of Professional Organizers as a certified organizer for 10 years now. And I've also gone on to expand my experience around coaching. I'm certified as an organizational coach, helping clients who struggle with executive function, ADD, and ADHD figure out how to move themselves forward and start to take back some of that control that they feel like they've lost.
I'm smiling because I'm hearing coach speak as you describe this, because coaching skills are wonderful skills for people who are interested in giving good customer service, because that means listening to the client, assessing what their needs are, and helping them to achieve their needs. So it's just delightful to hear you do all this coach speak right now.
Well, and it makes clients feel heard. It makes them feel more comfortable. Let's face it, having a stranger come in and touch your stuff and give opinions about the way you live can be very sensitive. And that's why coming across in a way that's open and understanding and allowing the client to really share with you what's creating the stuckness is how a true trained organizer helps a client transition from feeling completely in the weeds or drowning from their stuff to being back in control.
Well, it was interesting. I shared with you that late last year, my partner and I did a program called Downsizers Stay.
Mhm.
And on election day, this last election, I was speaking with one of the poll workers, and she said to me, we would consider it, but I don't know what to do with all of my stuff. And that was actually the impetus for my reaching out to you again. And while I'm framing this in terms of downsizing your home and moving out, I'm sure there are other types of clients you work with. Can you share that with us?
Sure. One of the things that gets in the way is looking at a project in too big of a scope. If you were to look at your attic and say, I need to get organized, woo, that feels like, especially after 20 or 30 years in a space, like a really big deal. And I caution clients to be a little bit more micro in their goal setting. So instead of talking about, for example, having to organize their entire attic, maybe our goal is just to pull out anything that is memory related. And if you can get clients being more specific and purposeful in what the exact task is in the goal, now we start to loosen that great big knot, which is feeling so uncomfortable and so icky that we move away from it. We make it more palatable and specific, our goal for the slice of the project that we're going to do. And that allows clients, whether they're downsizing, whether they're looking at an office full of paper, or whether they're talking about, the last 20 years of toys in their kids' playroom, it takes us to a place that we can wrap our mind and our arms around what's next.
That sounds so wise. Now, when we talk about downsizing, many times what I hear is, my mother had such a wonderful collection of Yadro that I took from her. My mother had Hummels. We've got fine china. We've got fine crystal, and the kids don't want it. What in the world can I do? Is it worth anything? Should I sell it? Does anybody want it? And at that point, many people will just back off and leave it as is. I'll let my heirs worry about it.
Yeah. We're seeing that as a very common sticking point for so many of my clients. And we all know that if we do have something incredibly fine, that there is a market out there for a high-end either antiques dealer or estate company. It's more of the middle of the road, the good stuff or the emotionally connected stuff, but not of extreme value that we end up getting caught in. And I agree, most of the kids don't want this stuff. And it's big and it's bulky, and the time of the china cabinet is past.
That's true.
So what do we do? I go back to what has worked in the past for clients. Where have they felt like letting their items go have been beneficial? Is there a church? Is there a charity? Is there a local Habitat for Humanity? Finding a connection that would be willing to take these pieces from us can really help us with that decision around letting go. Now, making money off of it, we don't get anything for free. You have to really hustle if you want to make some money, which means either a Facebook site, an eBay site. There are specific China-related sites that you can do, but people don't make a ton of money from them. If you do have a large volume of items, for example, a max sold, which I know you and I have talked about, it's an organization that comes on and does an online sale of everything, that you can include china and yardos and some of those pieces in a larger group auction sale. But for things that are smaller and specific, some crystal glasses, some figurines, um, grandma's china, um, I often suggest that clients either connect with a charity they feel good about, donate to a local resource, or if we want to get creative, we can do things like create some memory around it, take photos in have an electronic journal, create an electronic photo book, or perhaps have pieces broken and create a frame out of it so each of the children can have pieces of grandma's china in a piece that can hold something or be more modern in this day and age.
I'm assuming you can share some of your resources with me that I can include at the end of the video.
I think that would be helpful since so many clients are looking for those type of resources. Why don't you and I put that at the end of the video so people can just click the link and go right to that?
It sounds good. I will connect with you afterwards and we'll get this in the edited video. Now, can you show us some examples of what you've done? And I'm sitting here smiling because I know where you are and you are not in that garage.
No, no. Behind you, you'll see an attic in a client's home in Belmont. And when I entered this attic, every single item in those boxes was on the floor in absolutely no order. And so one of the things that we do is we go vertical. That's one of my favorite strategies. You go vertical, you're automatically going to have more space. You put like with like, you're going to gain 20 to 30% more space.
What do you mean by that? Put like with like?
Oh, great question. Think about your silverware drawer.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you were to take that and dump it upside down and everything got mixed together, and I asked you to pull like with like together, what would that mean to you?
Well, it means all my forks would be together, my big forks, my salad forks, my tablespoons, my teaspoons, and so forth.
Right. So the first question is, how does the client define their like categories? So when I start with a client and we're looking at a mix of things together, for example, everything that came out of your silverware drawer, we'd call that technical errors because the spoons are mixed up with the forks, it's mixed up with the chopsticks, mixed up with the knives. Everything's mixed together, technical errors. I ask my client to define what those categories are by picking them up and saying, this is a salad fork. This is a dinner fork. Now we start to sort like items together. Does that make sense as a like with like explanation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me about the process. Let's say I want you to come in. We're thinking of moving to a much smaller place.
Mm-hmm.
How would that look if I were your client?
So our first step is to do a walkthrough and an organizing assessment. I can't plan this move until I see what you have and how you're engaging with the space, and we talk about what's next. Depending on what we're doing with the items, are they all going to the next space? What is the size of the space? Determining if there's storage unit involved or a second home or a family member that's going to get them. But it's really about doing a walkthrough and asking the client all of the questions that they need to be thinking about around this move. Once we finish with that, I give the client some homework. Everybody asks for homework. MJ, what can I do between now and the next time that I see you? And I like to give the client something that feels manageable and personal to get them invested. It might be asking family members what they want. It might be getting that floor plan from their realtor so they know what they're dealing with. But getting them to break it down into a couple of small steps when they're looking at such a big project, whether we're looking at a downsizing or whether we're looking at the room behind me that was a whole bunch of stuff on the floor before we created what you see, having that discussion, creating that roadmap, and sharing the steps with the client is the first part of our work.
Okay. It sounds like you have a roadmap when you get involved in a job.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, understanding what the client's desires are and how we're going to go about it is the first step. When new organizers come to me and ask, well, MJ, how do you know what to do? And you get that a lot. New people in your field want to ask the people who have been around a little bit more, well, how did you know? And the truth is, you don't always know. You have to sit with the client and see the evolution of the product. However, using the steps that we put in place, the organizational strategies, keeps us from slipping off of the path. Mm-hmm. Knowing that we need to sort through things, make decisions, assign them to locations based on how they're going to be used. Then we buy something beautiful and perfect and ideal to contain it in. And then we work with it. Engage and evaluate.
Sounds like a project plan to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you told me you had some photos to share.
I do. I'm going to do a screen share. Is now a good time?
Now's a good time.
Wonderful. Okay. So I've pulled some photos to show what spaces look like that we've worked with. There's an example of the one that is behind me.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of standing things up in drawers. A lot easier to find than when you lay things on top.
We go back. I've got to see how I'm going to do that in my husband's drawer.
Absolutely.
Because from here it looks, because until you said it, I didn't understand the viewpoint. It looked like blouses on a shelf, but it's really not. We're looking down into the drawer.
You're looking into a drawer. And if you think about all of your husband's t-shirts or your t-shirts, we all have a drawer full of those big t-shirts. If you fold them and stand them straight up, a lot easier to take them out than if they're laying one on top of each other. Like so that's the philosophy behind the work within a drawer.
That's cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know what I'm going to be doing later on today.
Well, and if anybody knows me, you know that I label everything. We eat with our eyes. And although we're pretty sure we know where everything is, having a label helps everybody stay true to what that category is. Mm-hmm. And these bins are all from Target, $4 to $6 each. The little ones are $1.99 each. The labels are $5 for a package of 3. So nothing in this closet is a very expensive solution. I'm a big fan of shelving, as you can see. This was a client's closet that we added clear bins so we could really define some very minute categories in her dressing room. And everybody wants an organized basement. I'm a big fan of getting things out of the kitchen that you're not using frequently and getting them downstairs. Color coordinating closets, light to dark, always helps if we can see what we have by style of clothing and by color, just like in the kindergarten classroom. Some before and afters. Everybody loves a good mudroom, and it's a great place to drop everything. We clean this space up for a client who is staging their home. The client in this photo does have some enhanced level of chronic disorganization issues. So her being able to clear her tabletop was a big win. Her dining room table hadn't been cleared in 5 years. So although this might not look spectacular and beautiful like some of the others, I wanted to show some of our clients that it's not about creating Pottery Barn. It's about being able to achieve the goal that you've been stuck around. And for this client, it was just creating a clear table space.
It's a big difference.
It's a big
again, it's not the Pottery Barn, it's not the model home, but it is actually quite spectacular given what the goal was and the people involved.
You know, and you don't have to take your attic and garage to the beautiful level that I had done where you saw all my labeled bins. Post-its are fine. It doesn't have to be expensive, beautiful. It can be, use what you have in your space. As you see,
Lovely.
I label everything. You know, I love these labels. These are some of my favorite labels. This is just a printout from your computer on a white piece of copy paper. And from Staples, you order a box of self-laminating sheets. They just come in a flat box. You pull it open, you put your picture in, you close it, you cut around, and you have a laminated label. Really great for kids and for families. Garages, wow. Right? This is a time of year where garages definitely can be.
I see where you went vertical in that garage as well.
Yeah. Going vertical is so important. If we can get any sort of shelving or pieces that will allow us to bring our bikes and things up, it can really free the space up. And 40 to 50% of people who have garages don't even use them because it's just filled with stuff. This was a bookshelf that we staged for a client's move. And a master closet that we worked on. This is a storage unit that we set up from a client that was moving out of a home in Needham. She wasn't able to take everything with her to her new space in Boston because she downsized, but she had 3 children, and this is 90% memories.
Okay.
So that's an example of what we do with clients who can't bring their stuff with them to their new space. We will do a smaller storage unit and create a place that they can keep seasonal, holiday, and those memories that they are hoping to move to the next location. This home was staged for sale, was the playroom in the office, another staged room that we created. Going vertical again with a little girl's bedroom. I love these little carts. You can get them at Target, you can get them at Container Store, you can get them at Walmart. They are wonderful, they move, and they're perfect to have in multiple rooms for kids to have their stuff, and so it doesn't build up on the surfaces.
Lovely.
This is an overflow, a client that downsized from Needham to Canton, and in her basement, she had an unfinished basement. We set up these shelves so all of her beautiful linen and pottery could be visible, so she could pull it and bring it up to her smaller kitchen. We even get creative, you know, that dead space between the wall and the, yeah, it's not beautiful, but this client had very little storage space. So we had her dad create this little makeshift pantry.
Just so many great ideas here.
There really are, you know, and when people always want to know what is the best way to organize, you know, there isn't a best way. It's about creating the space you need for your function. Once we know what your function is, then we go through what you have, then we get to how to make it beautiful.
Lovely work. Now let me ask you another question. How do you get paid?
Well, my clients reimburse me for the time that we spend together. We do an initial session. We do an initial session, which is our organizing assessment and plan of action. And that is less than a $500 fee, depending on the size of the space. And we do the time together, the plan of action, and the follow-up plan. And if the client says, I got it, MJ, I can do this, that might be all they need. Most projects run from about $1,200 to $2,500, depending on the client's level of need. But it can run more, just sort of depending on how deeply they have me invested, and if we're doing both the downsizing and move out, as well as the move in and reset. So
let me see if I understand that. If I said to you, MJ, I need some help, you would come in, you would walk through my place with me, ask me a lot of questions about what I wanted to accomplish, and give me a plan.
That's correct. By the end of our initial session, we've done the consultation. There's a plan of action in place. We've rolled up our sleeves and done a little bit of work, maybe a small little project, showing you how the process works with the sorting and the decision making. And we leave you with homework for you to follow up on after I leave. If it feels right.
And then if I feel like, hey, wow, I think I can do this, I can do it, But if I know that it's a great idea, but I just can't see myself finishing it, you'll come in and help me finish the project.
We come in, either myself working hand in hand with the client or bringing my associate organizers, a team of organizers. We come in and we work with the client, and they are always the general contractor. They make all the decisions. We do not throw anything out for the client without their approval. We do not force them to get rid of anything. What we do is we ask questions to help them make a decision about what's right for what's next. And as far as the heavy lifting, that's what we're there for.
This sounds fantastic. That's all I've got to say right now. What else, if anything, would you like to share?
Oh, well, first, I applaud anybody who is going through the transition and taking the time to be thoughtful and purposeful about what's in their attic, their basement, their drawers. It can be a very scary, overwhelming proposition.
Absolutely.
And so for my clients and my friends and my colleagues to be vested in the process of what do I have and how do I want to transition it, I'm always incredibly honored and grateful to be part of the process. You know, it's very emotional. It can feel very vulnerable, and no one wants to be judged for how they've lived their life or what they have behind closed doors. And it's essential for my clients to know that not only are we productive and efficient and organized in getting their projects done, but it's about holding their hands and making this as comfortable as possible and transitioning the organizing skill set to allow them to continue to do the work and grow after we're not with them on a daily basis or through the end of the project.
Thank you so very much, MJ. This has been wonderful. I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot. I know I certainly have, and I want to thank you for the time. And again, I will pull together the list of resources for folks and, of course, your contact information. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and it's been my pleasure. It was great to see you.